Mr. Michael Morone.
Good morning. Item 1, inform the board that Ms. Betty Webb is stepping down as the county's representative on the RCSC. Currently, Commissioner Parrish is the alternative representative. Will the board appoint another representative, or are we going to ask Commissioner Parrish to serve as the primary representative? Discussion?
I think we need to appoint a representative. Most of these meetings they have are on Friday,
And Monday, sir?
Mondays and Fridays, which are two of my busiest days at my regular job. And it's hard for me to turn loose and just attend all of these meetings, and most of them are on Friday in Bluntstown. Is there any other board member that's willing to do this, or do we need to look outside for? I really hate to look outside of the board. I'd rather have a board member attend these meetings, because it's critical when you're talking about the river flows and the water flows coming down the Apalachicola River, which is exactly what the RCSC is about, Riparian County Stakeholder Coalition.
Let me ask you, Smokey, can we have Michael Morone do it? Can we have Michael do it?
That's up to the board.
I mean, do you have
It's
a-
important that we do, because we do help fund this organization,
Yeah.
and we need somebody to be there that can spend the time to, keep track of all that. And of course, I keep track of it on the website and look at the board minutes and exactly what's going on, but being there physically able to participate is an issue. Certain times of the year I can go, certain times I can't,
Is the meeting once a month, Smokey, or?
Normally, it's once a month. Sometimes it's 2 months before they meet. I mean, there's no set schedule as exactly when the meetings will be held. They just notify you and say we're having a meeting.
Well, let's let Michael do it. He can
Commissioner Sanders
report
beat me
back
up.
to us.
I was going to hint Commissioner Watson a wink, but nobody was looking my way. But that's okay.
I make a motion that we have Michael Morone be our representative along with Commissioner Parrish.
Second.
Have a motion, second floor, all in favor? All opposed, motion carries.
Item number 2, recently and in the past, there have been numerous requests for streetlights throughout the county. And this, of course, is outside the 2 cities. If the board is going to consider these requests, I recommend that first the board create a policy and a line item in the upcoming budget to fund the cost of the streetlights. Board discussion. It's easy to say we put up streetlights, but there's a cost, and we need a policy to decide under what condition. Is it safety? Is it just neighborhood? Is this a public request? I need something to go on if we're going to move forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes, sir.
on this issue, I brought to the board several years ago about Bluff Road from the cemetery there out to D.W. Wilson Park. And there were also some residents in the Highland Park area out there. And the policy at the time, as I was told by the board, is the county does not do streetlights. Because the taxpayers will end up having to pay this. And when you start, if a taxpayer in one sector of a city or part of our county doesn't get streetlights, but their tax dollars are having to supplement streetlights in other parts of the county. So, it's kind of like, if you're going to do it, everybody in the community is going to want them. Number 2, the board has never done it because it's cost prohibitive. And number 3 is if you have certain streetlights in certain parts of the county, the other parts of the county don't get none, but their tax dollars are having. So you run into an issue of trying to treat people fairly and equitably, and that's the reason the counties never did streetlights. Having said that, if the board's going to do it, then I want to move forward with these 2 projects that I've been looking at for years and years that we've never funded, because there again, it's taxpayer dollars that you're using. It's not our dollars. No, I had a lady 3 years ago come to me and said, I need a street light. My husband passed away. Now I'm living by myself. My response to her was, the county does not do street lights. Hard to tell the lady that, but that was what we've always done. If you need a street light, then normally people will put them on their own property and pay that cost, which is exactly what this lady did. So, that's just my perspective on this. If we do it, then somebody's going to stand up, or, during budget time, you're going to have to vote to increase the budget to do it. If that's what the board so desires, then that's what we'll do. It is democracy and we rule by majority. But these are some of the issues that I've took care of the last 10 years that I've been here. and we just never done that. Because we just don't have the means to do that without raising everybody in the county's taxes. And like I said, if one area of the county don't get no street lights, but their taxes are helping to subsidize these other street lights. So it turns into a nightmare when you start doing that. That's my opinion on that issue.
They do it with the city of Appalachia, the city of Carabel. They put the street lights up, but they charge them per light by the month. I don't know.
The Duke Energy Company
They
charges them,
put
yeah.
it up, they charge them, I think, like $2 or $1.80 a month, something, $2 a month for each light.
I forget what it is, but it's a fixed fee, and they charge,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember what it is, but that's how they charge them.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I thought it was more than that, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I mean, the problem is, the city is a pretty confined area, and it's, it's easy to put a grid out there, but when you have rural roads, and people want lighting, once you put a single light out, then the next place seems even darker, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden it just adds on, and you can end up with $20,000 to $30,000 of street lighting in a county. I mean, it adds up pretty quickly. I mean, you're certainly welcome to do that. I mean, it's not, it's an issue for you all to debate. More likely at the budget time, though. You just need to set aside how much money you want to spend, and then.
It's like they would put the lights up for the people out there, they, do
Somebody's
get
got
it.
to pay for it.
Yeah.
You gotta buy poles and all that stuff.
Yeah, recently, when I talked to Duke about it, they recommend that what they do in other parts of, up in the Panhandle, they get the property owner that wants the street light and put it on their property, and they just charge them. He says anywhere from maybe $12, $20, depends on what type of light they want. He said it could run up to $60, and that's what they do. They recommend that we discuss it with the property owner and say, you want the street light here? In the corner of your property, we'll put it up. Duke will put it up, and this will be added to your light bill. He said it's a small fee.
Well, it's $18 a month, and then, times a year, okay, that's $212 a year or whatever.
Well,
Well, you start-
Where
like you said,
there's-
you start
where there-
putting them up,
This is
everybody
Duke we're
knows.
talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Chairman, if I might, when you're talking about putting them on private property, there's usually a pole set on that property to provide power to that property.
Yes.
So, but when you don't have any poles or anything, now you gotta try and buy, you gotta put the infrastructure in to hold these street lights.
Yes.
That's where the cost comes in, it's not, $30,000 doesn't seem much, but it is, but then you gotta put the infrastructure in place. And then you pay this monthly fee, and that monthly fee is gonna be determined on how many people want street light. And I'm sure everybody does. I'm sure everybody does, but, we've always tried to do the best we could, but, I'm just one member.
Start putting them in,
Everybody's gonna want them. I mean, there's no way around it, and you know how I am about treating people fairly and equitably. I can't tell Jane she can have one, but John, he can't. I mean, how you gonna do that when they're all taxpayers? So I think we're cracking open a door that we really don't wanna walk through.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. You got 4 of the members here. I don't know what their opinions are.
Well, like Alan said, we have until budget time to think about it
Yeah.
and make a decision.
I agree with Commissioner.
I mean, Island Drive, I was thinking of Island Drive a while ago. When you come onto the island, that area that's open in the middle of the island.
Yeah.
That would look really nice, landscaped and lighted.
Street lights.
But the cost of doing that, it would look real good going down Bluff Road, but the cost of doing that would almost be cost prohibitive to actually do it and do it right, because we just don't have the tax base. If we had 40,000 people here paying taxes, it'd be a little bit different, but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't have it, and it's gonna be hard.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you got
Yes,
to
sir.
Alan Pfeiffer, Concerned Citizens, Franklin County. Just wanted to understand, is there are we making a distinction, Commissioner Parrish, between lights needed at traffic intersections versus lights that are against people's homes, or you got them all in the same pot?
Just as a general discussion, I know Bluff Road here, as you know, has the only, where it intersects in 98, has the only light in the county that changes colors. That tells you about traffic count, as you're referring to. Now, we're just having a general discussion. Somebody wanted a couple of streetlights in East Point, and a couple other places. And like I said, I've been asking for this for 9 years, but the board decided it would be cost prohibitive. But I know once you start that, even though I have the traffic numbers probably to support what you're saying, I just don't want to do it because other areas of the county want the same consideration. Other areas of the county pay taxes too. So I don't really think we need to be cracking this door open.
I was wondering if this was maybe an issue we want to talk to the sheriff about, where there's been accidents on an ongoing basis at night, and I know there are some streetlights outside the cities, and I don't know how many there are. Do we have an idea of our inventory of lights that we're paying for now?
Well, I mean, there might be a few, and there, well, I don't know of any that I can quote right now that are traffic related. There's lights on 98 that either DOT or the businesses put out there. I mean, areas where you think, like on the intersection, I think there's a light at 319 and US 98. I'm not sure who pays for that, I'll be honest with you right now. Maybe something that DOT put up a long time ago. I just don't
See,
know.
that's what, I don't know the answer to that either, and
I'd rather go to more.
certainly, I'm thinking of a safety issue. If we could save a life, you know, it's definitely worth spending some county money. I'm speaking probably out of turn because I haven't spoken to my board, but
I would rather
there may be a
research.
need for a few of these.
I do know on Bluff Road several years ago, there was a gentleman killed out there in this particular area. A pedestrian walking down the street, it's a dark street, he got ran over. Okay, but then you gotta look back at who's gonna pay for this stuff and where we're gonna get the money from, and is Mr. Pfeiffer gonna stand up and oppose it when we come to budget time? So, you know, and once you start, I wanna treat people equitably, I've said that 1,000 times sitting there. I don't wanna treat one end of the county different than I treat the other end. I want to treat people fairly and equitably, and once you crack the door open, then it's not all about traffic or safety, it's all about, I want a street light, I'm a taxpayer too. So the mentality changes, maybe not from your standpoint or my
Right.
standpoint, but the general public standpoint.
I understand.
So we need to be careful, I think, as a board, where we're going with that, because it could come into quite a substantial amount of money that has to be paid for, and the board gets their money from the taxpayers. So I'm just trying to look at it from that standpoint. And where we're at right now, the economy's not real good. We're not generating excessive amounts of money, and we don't want to do that because your taxes go up, mine goes up too. So that's just my stance. That's not the rest of the board.
I understand. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Number 3, board action to approve the certificate of substantial completion as recommended by Emo Architects, the architects for the Fort Coombs Armory renovation project. The final inspection will be scheduled as soon as the contractor completes the punch list from the substantial inspection. This certificate doesn't apply to the drainage phase of that project. This is all internal work, the AC, electrical, nothing to do with the drainage project. But we had a substantial inspection. He's got his final punch list, now that the EMO needs us to sign off that we did have that actual substantial inspection.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I will update the board when we have the final inspection on the inside, and as the drainage project continues to proceed, I'll give you guys an update on that, too. Item 4, inform the board that a copy of the SHIP advertisement is attached to your agenda packet. This ad states the application periods for the emergency repair, the owner-occupied rehabilitation, and the down payment assistance programs. The application will run in the upcoming edition of the Apalachicola Times, and the SHIP program will start accepting applications 30 days after the advertisement is published. Item 5, I informed the board that I attended the Senior Services Workshop yesterday, Monday, April 4th. The workshop was held at the Franklin County Senior Citizen Center in Carabel and facilitated by Area Agency on Aging. The workshop was very informative, mostly for anyone interested in responding to Area Agency on Aging RFPs for lead agency designation and Older American Act provider, which are two separate things. As a matter of fact, the agency considered this a pre-request for proposal workshop. There were representatives from the Senior Citizen Council, the City of Carabel, the City of Apalachicola, Franklin's Promise, and some concerned citizens. Not necessarily the concerned citizen group, just concerned citizens. The information provided explained the differences between the lead agency designation and Older American Act provider. In addition, the overview of the fiscal requirements explained the unit costs, funding allocations, and other grant information. As a note of interest, the $16,000 that is allocated to Area Agency on Aging actually goes beyond assisting with Meals on Wheels program. Ms. Lisa Bretz of Area Agency on Aging explained those funds are also used for a match on some of the other services. She also stated that all of the board's allocation would be best served to assist with some of the match requirements for these services. Area Agency on Aging will delay the RFP advertisement until this fall to allow local agencies to gather the necessary information and hopefully prepare to submit a proposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on this number 5 here, Mike.
Yes, sir.
When they said they're going to delay until the fall to allow, what are they calling the fall? Because I'd like to know something before we do our budgeting this year. Because I don't want to sit here and allocate money that is not going to these people that deserve these services.
Yes.
It's what we explicitly talked about when the area from agency, young lady came here.
Yes.
And it's hard for me to sit here and vote the budget monies and allocate monies to provide senior services. I want to know who's going to be providing them, how that money's going to be spent. Is it going to be done on the units,
Yeah, the methodology.
methodology, or,
Yes.
how can we
I think,
efficiently and more efficiently distribute these funds and more efficiently provide these services to the senior?
well, first thing, based on yesterday's meeting, it's obvious that I don't think there's any agency in the county that's ready to take over as a lead agency.
Okay.
So that's what the time is for. Now, they have one contract that starts July 1st, and then one starts in the calendar year of January 1st. So I can't remember the lead agency versus the Older American Care. They're actually two separate contracts. So I guess what I need to do is bring Lisa in here. She's going to send out basically an intent of anybody that wants to bid for it. By then, she should know if anybody is intending on bidding, and then maybe she comes back to the board before we start the budget workshops and say, okay, all your money needs to go in this direction, and we figure out, how to do it and not necessarily allocate it to any specific agency, anyone else, just,
We need to do it.
maybe we hold that money in a line item budget allocated, but hold on to it until she comes in, we have contracts.
I would direct you to gather this type of information, Michael. to better-
Okay.
I wouldn't say bring her here right
Okay,
now.
that's
but-
fine.
But it's something I want you to track and watch and see how this thing is progressing forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we go into these, get closer to our budget, stuff before we finalize anything, then maybe she can come in. By then, maybe she'll know if anybody's going to apply, how we should proceed for the next fiscal year. I'm not opposed to doing something as far as the allocation. If I truly believe that these seniors are gonna get these services, and they're gonna be delivered the way they should be.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say exactly what I'm willing to do, but I wanna make sure these people get what they deserve.
Yes.
I mean, the good book tells us to look out for the people that can't look out for themselves, and to me, that's small children or people with disabilities or our seniors that are not able to provide for
Yeah.
themselves. I mean, so that these are the type of things that I want to look at. And you can just monitor it and see how, keep us up to date of how
I
it's
will.
progressing and where we're going as we're leading up to looking at some of the budget stuff. And just give us an idea of where we're going and how we're going to proceed with that.
And on that note, Commissioner, I'm planning to attend some of their regional meetings up in Tallahassee. I think they have monthly meetings where they have with the board, because they're saying they don't have much representation from Franklin County, so I'm just going to go ahead and attend.
Yes.
See what's going on and see where we're at. But Commissioners, I tell you, your allocations, allocated the correct way, we can do a lot of good with that money.
Well, that's what I
I'm not
wanna see.
saying we're doing bad now, but we can do better. Let me change that, because I
She
know I'll
told
get
us
quoted.
if we Take it all 3-pot, put it all in one, we could do good.
Yeah, I mean, the way the service actually works and the contracts really work, it can stretch a long way.
But we need a person such as yourself, Mike, as you stepped up to take over for Alan, to monitor this stuff. If you have to go to Tallahassee to a meeting, go to Tallahassee to a meeting.
All right.
Figure out what's going on, and so you can give us board advice in what direction we need to proceed.
Okay.
To get these seniors the services that they need.
That they need. I
We
mean,
had
and
to
they
run it
deserve
Too many
it.
ways.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we
not
had
working, it's
money
not
split up
working.
Too many
What we've been doing is not working.
And I agree with Commissioner Parrish.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. I thought there was a deadline that Liberty County was going to stop in June.
She's already put in a request to extend.
Okay.
There, and she said they're willing to work with us, as long as we're trying to move forward on our own.
Okay.
Yes, she said the other day at the meeting, as long as we would push forward, she would stay in as long as she can to try to get us on our feet.
And that was reinforced yesterday at that meeting too. Okay, item number 6, actually it's mostly an Allen item. Inform the board that Mr. Charles Cook, project manager, Alligator Point Water District, had written Allen a letter asking for a formal status report on the relocation of Gulf Shore Boulevard. Allen has responded and provided the board with a copy of that letter, which is in your packet. The status of the relocation is that the project is still in FEMA review. Allen has several phone calls with the state emergency management personnel trying to get the project moved along. The latest is that by April 30th, FEMA in Washington will have finished some additional review. At this time, the FEMA funding for the project expires on June 30th, and Allen's waiting for the April 30th date to determine what to do next. While FEMA appears open to extending the project, Gulf Shore Boulevard is so exposed at this point that the road could be lost in a minor storm event.
I just put a map up here. I appreciate Joseph Farrell, the property appraiser, bringing this off this morning. It's a 2015, December 2015 map. It's only 4 months old, Google Earth, and just very illustrative of what's going on out there. Here's Gulf Shore Boulevard, and bingo, runs into the Gulf, and we're responsible for that. There's a right-of-way here, it actually goes all the way to where the road used to come. You can see it here, it used to come all the way, and the state of Florida bought this up here, so that's part of Ball Point State Park. But we still own the road here. There's one house here, there's one house here, there's another house here, and there's one house here that still need that road as access. And we have permission from the state of Florida to bring a road in from the backside and wind around here to avoid some wetlands. And that's the road I'm trying to get permission from FEMA to build. But this road is exposed here, and I put this up for a second reason. That Mr. Bolt's here. I believe the house with the blue roof, I believe him. And this indentation here that's the county lot right there. So we may talk about that, but I just want to give you relative speaking. There's a water line, Alligator Point water line runs down the beach here. And as far as I'm concerned, that's their responsibility to protect their infrastructure. Now, usually it's in a right-of-way. The right-of-way is still there, and we're doing all we can to protect our road, and they have to do what they can to protect their infrastructure. It's their responsibility. We've relocated temporarily. This is not the new road, we did it a year ago. This is a temporary easement to allow access to these houses here, but it's only temporary. The man who owns this house here, Mr. Ray Maynard, says that at some point he's gonna stop, letting people drive across his property. He wants that road relocated, and I want it relocated. Hopefully in April, we'll get an answer out of FEMA. My frustration is, and I say this publicly, is that this land has already been approved by the state of Florida. It's on state land. It's met all the state criteria for having a road across state property. It meets the environmental criteria. So what additional review is necessary at Washington, D.C. to approve road being built that the state's already said can be built on their land? But we're just waiting to see. Hopefully it's not going to be a big surprise, but I'm waiting for that review to be complete.
One question if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you come across the state lands there, Alan, with a quote county road down into those residents, how are you going to access all those residents off of one road coming through the
There's only
woods?
7 lots. We only have to deal with 7 lots.
So we're going to come inland and build an access road to those 7 lots?
Yes, on the backside of those 7 lots.
And once you make one road in, then you're going to have a road running parallel to the beach, off the beach,
Yes.
that will let them access their houses?
From the
the
backside.
backside.
Because there's no way to maintain that road down on that beach like that. I mean, and then the Water Management District may have to look at,
And they'll have to.
moving their line back over on this new road on the
Yeah, they're
high,
prepared
on the
to do
interstate.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're prepared to do that also. They're waiting for, basically, they're wanting us to move the road sooner than I can do it. I mean, FEMA has given, allocated $400,000 to this project, which you think is enough. Now, could the county move forward and use the Ball Point Trust Fund? Yeah, you could. It's your money and your road, but that's just, if you spend the Ball Point Trust Fund money moving this road, then you'll never get the money back.
But in our comprehensive plan, we're pretty much prohibited from putting infrastructure in a coastal high hazard area.
That's right. That's why-
Because it's going to continually be tore up and we're going to continually be looking at FEMA to replace it. And at some point, FEMA's going to balk on that.
Well, they have on the other part of Alligator Point, and so we went ahead and was proactive when this road got washed out, and this was in 2012, now this is now almost 4 years we've been trying to get this road relocated, but yes, we were proactive, Commissioner, so we will agree to move the road back on the back property line of these 4 lots, which puts it approximately 400 feet further in. The lots are acre lots, are 100 by 400 feet deep, so we're moving 400 feet back, and, when the big one comes, these houses could easily be destroyed, and when they get destroyed, guess what? We're not gonna build that road back. I mean, because there won't be anybody who needs access to property.
I know them houses you talk about, the Menu Road down there, they ain't gonna be there long.
Right. Which leads me, these people are also vulnerable. I mean, that's just another issue down here.
And see, this is what I tell you about historical stuff. Back in the early 1900s and around 1920, all that was water back in there. Mud Cove goes back in there. The only way you could get across from the mainland part of Alligator Point to that area was, by horse or by boat. Back then, you didn't have anything, and that's basically what we've said about the KOA property down there. Anything to do with Alligator Point, Mother Nature is coming to reclaim what's hers. And even though even though we've tried everything we can to do that, we can't push something in there and put it in there, push it and put it in there without FEMA's approval. So, you know, and I saw the letter that you wrote to the district, and that was a very good letter, but they've got to understand, we have got to do and get the proper permitting and stuff to be able to do what we've got to do.
I mean, the good news is, it's sort of cruel to say this, there are 7 lots here, and actually, the property lines, Commissioner Parrish, are way back here, I'm off my scale, because that's the first house, and he's on the back end of his property, so the road will be back here.
Okay.
Be that far back, I apologize for being off. But when those 7 lots get washed away, most likely these 4 lots here, meaning 2 houses, are gonna be washed away also, because whatever event gets these, they're probably gonna get that one too. And so we would lose more road. But the good news is, from this point north, that's all state land. So if in fact we have a terrible storm and lose these houses here, we don't need to maintain this road because it's state land and the state can get their own access.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to solve a problem for 7 lots, that hopefully that'll be the only section of this road we have to move. There are other parts of Alligator Point Road further on we still have exposure to,
Right.
hopefully to solve this one up here.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, oh, sorry.
hold on just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
The thing about it is, we had such a hard time, the engineering company that we had such a hard time finding the access from the backside. It took us months to get that. And now that we've got that, FEMA's dragging their feet on this,
Right,
so.
that's correct.
I had a couple of questions. Have you contacted the Congresswoman's
Yes,
office?
yeah,
And
we've
has she
used-
been helpful?
No.
And secondly, doesn't the state have programs for end parcels to purchase?
Yes, and I'm pursuing that not only through the state land people, because these are 7 lots, this is an out parcel surrounded completely by Ball Point State Park. I've been trying, in fact, I've already met with, and you all will get meetings with representatives of state parks to talk about something on St. George Island. In my meeting with him, I already pumped this idea saying, look, and he agreed to look into that option. Because if we can buy these 7 lots, or they buy the 7 lots, it becomes part of Bowling Point State Park, we would abandon that part of the road, they would get 7 acres, and they get 1,000 feet of beach frontage they don't currently have. So no, we're looking at that. There is FEMA money, there are FEMA programs, there's no money in the program right now, we haven't had a storm in enough years, because it's a flood mitigation program is what it is, and so we have to have a storm that generates so much damage, and they put mitigation money out there. So yes, at some point, and I've talked to some of these property owners here who would be open to buying and relocating, but there's no money in that pot right now.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes,
to
sir.
address Commissioner Parrish's question, the lots, I think you said 7 lots, 6
7
lots. I presently have in hand in my office original easement deeds from all but one of those lot owners. I think that last lot owner is holding out to see whether or not we actually get the FEMA approval for the relocation. They also have some other issues that were going on internal, but I don't have any reason to think that they won't cooperate with us at the time that we actually need to build the road. I just don't have the deed in hand at this point. But I do have 6 of the 7, or 5 of the 6, I forget how many lots are back there.
That's to put the road on the backside of the property
On the
or
north
what?
side of the property lines, that's.
Okay.
Basically, what happened with the state of Florida, initially, we had asked the state of Florida to build the entire road on their land, and then we wouldn't have to get easement from 7 individuals. But the state of Florida said, no, this is state parks, bought for environmental purposes, we have to reduce the minimum impact that you, the county, are making. So we will grant you access to this place they have to go across the property, and we had to loop around to avoid a big wetland area in here. But when we, so this part of the road is on state land. When it came to starting to get access to the individual lots, the state said, no, everybody has to share the burden of having a road, so the individuals had to grant an easement on their property.
And they do understand that if they don't sell out now, when that place washes away,
Right.
they're negotiating and
The
it's
FEMA money is to buy
it's
out
gone.
damaged houses, not buy vacant land. So they're better off to sell when the house is standing.
Exactly, plus part of the property be eroded away again, and if there ain't no house there, there's really no value to it, and then they don't have any leverage for bargaining, but,
What happened, which is why we ended up with this parcel here, the lady had a house that got damaged and ultimately fell down. She couldn't build it back, and so she abandoned and got frustrated and gave us the property. Yeah.
which is not, nothing that I advocate for, or just putting that out there. I know it's worth a lot more with a beach house on it than it will be when the beach house is eroded and washed away. And I understand what they're saying about, the state's willing to give land for the road, But the property owner's gotta have some skin in the game also, is basically what we're talking about. And you want us to build a road to you, but you're gonna have to allow us to have some kind of easement on the backside there so that you got some skin in that game also.
But it might.
Well, I think Mr. Burrow's gonna say something, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Bert Bolt, and I live on Gulf Shore Boulevard. And
The house is blue roof.
there is currently, for your consideration, I think Mr. Schuler is looking at the issue of, at 1033 Gulf Shore Boulevard, there is a petitioner who wants to build a seawall in front of his home and extend that seawall east to the lot next to him, which is the lot that the county owns. In building seawalls in already designated critical erosion areas, you're doing nothing more than enhancing the erosion issues that are already happening there with seawalls. And I believe the state has granted the petition, which I think is up for debate right now again, for that property owner to construct a seawall, and also that one next to the county. So we have an exacerbating situation that continues to occur with seawall issues right there in an already critical eroded area. So.
Yeah, the house, as you can see barely, there's a big indentation here. This house has a seawall around it, a wing wall that is deflecting wave action. And the reason the water is eroding so badly right here is that wing wall is deflecting, wave action onto the county property, and is eroding fairly significantly. And the gentleman here, what he's proposing to do is build all the way across there and connect into this wing wall here somewhere, I'm not really sure where, trying to keep the erosion from working way back under his house. But I understand what Mr. Bolt's saying. I mean, all these houses, including Mr. Bolt's a little further back than some of these guys, but they're right on the beach, and they are extremely exposed. I'm not sure a wall is going to do them any good when a real storm comes in.
Just informational for you.